So today, we're taking a look at the White Sand Omnibus, the Deluxe edition. The campaign told us that none of these were actually going to be signed. It was going to be book plates. For those who don't know what a book plate is, it's an insert, basically a sticker that is pre-signed by an author. They were originally going to stick it in the book, and a lot of collectors were like, please don't do that because we actually don't like when that happens. And Dynamite's like, yeah, okay, we won't stick it in the book. So they stuck it on a comic board. It's like a gloss page. There's no getting it off. I guess I will cut around it now.
That's really irritating.
So let's talk about the book though. At first look, it actually looks pretty good because you've got your cloth bound and it's a, nice spine. It's got silver foiling. The slipcase is actually your like typical faux leather. But it's not like actual leather, it's more like pleather. Jason's giving me looks. He took the book out and I can already see what the looks are for because yes, the book has been attacked by fairy herpes, aka glitter.
Are you sure it's not supposed to be the look of sand?
No, because look at it. You can see it's all coming off here. Like around his waist.
Yeah, around his waist. I can see it from here.
Yeah.
I still think you could make the argument it was meant to look that way. But it is coming off on the body, which is not supposed to happen.
It's coming off on here. I did get the ebook version, and I quite enjoyed the changes that were made. There were some minor fixes to some of the art. I had actually never read the comic version before. I had only read the prose version. I finally understand some people's comments about how jarring it is to be switching art styles like 4 or 5 times.
So I have a comment on that though.
Mm-hmm.
That happens in comics.
Yes.
Going from issue to issue, your style might change.
But it wasn't just issue to issue. It was in the middle of issues.
I know, but I'm just saying.
You
have to give it a little leeway. It is art.
In terms of the omnibus content itself though, the Ars Arcanum editions have been loads of fun. Because we're getting these little teases to autonomy throughout. We see her face in the clouds in the background and the shapes in the sand. They definitely tried to be more exact in their connections with the Cosmere as a whole. And so that is actually very fun. Yeah, so somebody mentioned that it feels like there's kind of a dust on some of the pages, and I do feel that. That
happens in book production. I know this because I worked in book production many, many, many years ago. Mm-hmm. It's not a sign of high quality book production, but it does happen.
We got a bad print. Pages that are stuck together. So these are all about 1/4 of an inch too low, maybe even 1/8 of an inch.
Oh yeah, they have a misalignment.
Mm-hmm. But especially here,
some of your bubbles are cut off.
You can see that these pages are all
misaligned.
Well, and they're still connected because they didn't get cut correctly. I guess I will be sending a message. Jeez, I'm going to be sending a message to them.
You have quite a few stuck together.
Yeah, it's this whole section right here.
So in bookbinding, they come in these sections and you load them into a hopper.
Yes.
And then they get collected in. So that whole section, whenever loaded in, they did it wrong.
Well, and you can see that maybe like a blade was dull or something.
Which also happens. Again, in not great quality book manufacturing.
This whole section that is, and you can see it's glued binding. This is not sewn binding.
Yeah.
And this whole section that got glued in, this was not cut correctly. So that is unfortunate because I hate having to send things back. In terms of the book...
If you send it back, you might never get another one.
In terms of the book as a story, I really actually like a lot of the updates that were done. In terms of the quality of the book itself, this is not collector, deluxe, whatever.
It's a 5 out of 10 max.
The pages are actually nice pages. I think they're nice pages.
That's a pretty nice page. For a comic book, those are nice because comics are going very thin these days. So that's a nice stock for pages.
The print quality itself, like the color, is actually pretty good. So having read the ebook, I do know how these pages are supposed to look in terms of color, and I do think the color printing itself is actually very nice too.
Yeah, it looks good.
So there's a lot of good components to this, but unfortunately, whoever Dynamite used as their printer failed. Unfortunately, the hardcovers and like the paperbacks, those have apparently all been perfectly fine. Deluxe is where we suffered.
You know, unfortunately, you know, making products for people is hard. You know, so not to completely rag on them. They did their best.
But their best was not...
Their best was not what they're promised. What was promised. A good rule of thumb is under promise and over deliver. And they over promised and under delivered, which only makes it look worse.
I don't know. Just Dynamite has never really been on my radar until this campaign, which I already didn't like Indiegogo. Indiegogo has always been kind of sketchy to me in terms of a crowdfund campaign place. And so then we were running it on Indiegogo, which already has its own problems where you couldn't update addresses. People were getting their stuff shipped to addresses that were like 8 months old because of how delayed this was.
Yeah.
And they started the campaign before any of the final proofing was done. And they didn't tell anybody about it. Dynamite didn't tell anybody. And then Dragonsteel said something about it a couple days later.
Which at that point they were sold out.
Yeah, at that point, the initial 1,000 Deluxe, signed were sold out. So they added another 1,000 Deluxe. So yeah.
It's hard.
Dissatisfied.
It's hard because we don't like being negative, especially on this channel. But it's hard when, unfortunately, the quality is what it is.
In terms of the Cosmere, if you're a fan of the Cosmere and you haven't read White Sand, or you have read White Sand before in either version, I actually recommend reading this new version. The Ars Arcanum itself is incredibly interesting. There's like 49 new pages of Ars Arcanum. I guess that's really all we have to say.
Like, subscribe for other, more upbeat content.
Yes. We'll do our best.
This is not our regular, I had high hopes, but unfortunately it didn't work out. So, bye all. Look forward to our future projects.
Bye. Yeah, so the internet was broken, so we had to fix that. So and then the camera wouldn't work.
And then we fixed that.
So we fixed that, and then the power went out. So now we're going to try this by recording on a GoPro only. So no face cam, no OBS. We're just straight up on the GoPro.